then making it controvertible and things like that. So does that explain it?
I think it takes, yeah, it's fantastic. And I admire your courage to stand up in that way, because I can't imagine that it was a pleasant experience having to go through all of that, but you didn't back down. It would have been easier to have paid the license and avoided this trouble, but you stuck to your guns. And
you can thank the lady walking around in the background, because she helped me duplicate the evidence. So, you know, she doesn't like being on camera, so we'll let it go.
Well, behind every good man is a good woman.
Not always.
There's
usually a woman. Yeah.
And now behind every good man is a good woman. Now, I have a few questions because I want to pick your brain. Just like, what would I ask a celebrity like Tony Rooke? At least in my eyes, because you put a lot of work into that. You went through, you know, a temporary hell with all that court nonsense. What do you remember the day of 9/11? Like, where were you that day?
I was in a cafe with a friend having a cup of tea, and a mate ran me out from the pub where I used to drink quite regularly, and they had a television, and he rang me up and said, "Have you seen it? Have you seen it?" I think, like a lot of people, I said, "Seen what?" And I honestly didn't know what was happening.
Sure.
The World Trade Center's just been struck, and then I rushed down. I said goodbye to my friend, and I rushed down to the pub to watch it on the television, and then saw the second tower struck. And I'll be honest, Julia, I was like everybody else. I thought, oh gosh, you know, plane hits building, building falls down. That's what I thought. I was in shock like everybody else. Wow, this is absolutely. I didn't really know much about false flag terrorism at all. I was, you know, as green as the next person. I didn't know what it was, but yeah, I do remember it very clearly.
And you were living in England at the time.
Yeah.
What was the effect on your communities as you perceived it? Was you guys got the official narrative just like we did?
Yeah, absolutely. We're all in horror, and I even remember maybe at a later date when the British were going to invade Iraq. You know, I remember being in a bar, probably having had too many beers and full of macho bullshit and whatever, and thinking, yeah, we should get these guys, what they've done to us. You know, I was one of those people. I was no different to anybody else, not at all. It was only in 2004 when somebody showed me Loose Change, I looked at it and thought, hang on a minute, there's some questions to be answered here. And then my father was a policeman. My father was a policeman for 30 years. My sister was a police officer. My brother-in-law, my nephew was a police. I was going to be a policeman. I'm colourblind. Yeah, I know. Just family full of police officers. So maybe naturally inquisitive. I don't know. But once I'd seen a question mark, and Loose Change is a wonderful film. Not perfect by any stretch of the imagination. None of these films are, including mine. But very, very interesting. And so I was genuinely curious, and then it went on from there. But initially, to go back to your original question, yeah, I was the same as everybody else. Rah, 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 let's bomb the crap out of the Middle East. You know, I was that stupid, I have to admit.
I get it, though. I mean, I remember I was in high school, a freshman in high school, and I remember thinking that something was wrong with the collapses, because having been there, and I had been nervous, and I had gone to the top with my father either that summer or the summer prior, I don't remember. And I was, you know, having fear of heights. I remember going up in the elevator, and I could feel, it wasn't a very windy day, but I could feel something up there. And I was nervous and asking my father, and, you know, he grew up in New York his whole life, and he was saying, no, you know, a plane could hit these buildings and they wouldn't fall down. And because that was the big thing that was always touted, that it could withstand the impact of a fully loaded 707, the largest plane at the time. Right. And that made sense to me. And so I was absolutely shocked at seeing it. I didn't know anything about Building 7. But then I just was so scared. I mean, I remember going to school the next day on the school bus thinking, like, is the world still going to be here later? And I was confused by what had happened. And then when we invaded Iraq, I remember watching the news and I remember feeling confused and thinking, I really must not understand this stuff because I don't understand why we're invading Iraq. I don't understand the connection between Iraq and 9/11. And it's like, well, it's the war on terror. It's all part of it.
Yeah.
But I was like, does that guy actually have anything to do with 9/11? Because it seems like everyone is reveling in the fact that we're retaliating against these people that murdered 3,000 Americans on that day, and now, 2,000 more since that day at least. And I just was confused. But I mean, I was 13, so what did I know?
Well, I don't know how old I was, but I didn't understand it either.
I feel like we were all deeply traumatized by, what we saw, what we no longer saw. And I guess, go ahead.
No, I was going to say it was darkly brilliant. The whole thing is darkly brilliant. I mean, I think you're a Christian person. I'm a Christian person.
Mm-hmm.
This is. I mean, I'm not going to stray into theology because I appreciate people who watch your thing maybe aren't. But to me now, and I've analysed this thing to the nth degree, to the point of being utterly perplexed and not fully understanding it. And the only thing I can think up is. And when we do know this for a fact, we do know that the people behind this kind of thing do have a spiritual interest. We do know that they have Bohemian Grove and this kind of crap going on in their lives. There is some kind of tangible evil going on.
Mm-hmm.
For people who don't buy into that, then fine, it's still evil, even by orthodox definitions. But it's the only thing I can think of explaining it. I can't think of any. They could have done other things to justify invading the Middle East, justify invading the Middle East. They could have done other things, but they chose not to. They chose to do something that was shockingly iniquitous, and you begin to wonder. But anyway, that's just my opinion. I'm not saying I'm right. I'm just saying that's how I feel about it. But and of course now we arrive at the, probably jumping ahead a little bit, we arrive at the global vaccination campaign, but
the pharmaceutical industry there are lots of issues surrounding that, and I understand why people are concerned, and I think that it's important that we're all as informed as possible, from reliable sources. I personally have not been vaccinated yet. I'm not sure how I feel, but I don't want to get too far off on a rabbit hole.
Let's try and avoid that one. That could get complicated.
But we don't have to agree on everything. I know that we. When I was rewatching Incontrovertible last night and today, and it filled me with a sense of renewed outrage, and I see that come through in your work. So tired of being suppressed, so tired of the information being restricted from us. And it's something when someone else's outrage is inspirational. And that's one thing that I really love about your film, is that although it is kind of a brooding, deep, and intense foray, as you say in the beginning, you may want to go somewhere quiet, contemplate these things for a little while.
Yeah, there's not much comedy in it.
No, there's not.
It's a shame, because I'm actually I love comedy, and I hope I'm quite a funny person, but no, Incontrovertible was a miserable watch. It is, isn't it? And it's like, shit, no, after 2 hours of this crap.
Well, it's a little bit easier to listen to for me with the British narration. It's just kind of
Uh,
soothing and makes me
Michael's great.
feel.
Yeah. Michael Culver's
Now,
great. Yeah.
one thing I do have to ask you about Incontrovertible is how on earth, what was the scene like as you're hauling computer monitors onto a beach? Can you tell that
After
story?
late in the background. Hello, love. That was fun, wasn't it?
Can you tell me what
Yeah.
that was like?
No, not very much. It was very funny because I tell you why I did it, Julia, and I've answered this question before, and it wasn't to look stylish or trendy or modern or avant-garde. It's because when you're making when you're using a lot of YouTube footage, especially like old news, like Tom Daschle, you know,
Yes, he was
guy
talking about the
about,
anthrax.
you know, the 9/11 investigation.
Oh yes.
If you're downloading stuff off YouTube with whatever software you've got, like YouTube Grabber or Clip Grabber or whatever you have, so you steal this stuff and you dump it down into your inbox, and then you drag it into Final Cut Pro, which is the software I was using. If it's like 420 or 380 or whatever, if it's a low grade definition, it looks like shit when you blow it up. So but the smaller you keep it screen wise, you have a higher definition. So I thought, oh golly gosh, what can I